So happy Friday, everyone, and welcome to our presentation today. Can adaptogens impact well-being? So these are the learning objectives for this presentation. We're going to define the term well-being. We're going to explain the concepts of adaptogens in general. We're going to identify a few examples of adaptogens. And then we're going to review some of the benefits and risks of using adaptogens. So first, let's start out by defining what well-being is. So the concept of well-being can be defined as the state of being happy, healthy, and/or prosperous. There can be different aspects of well-being in our lives related to this idea of being happy, healthy, and/or prosperous. We can have social well-being, where we want to feel like we belong to a group, we have a support with other people, and we have developed meaningful relationships. We can have well-being in the workplace, having a place to gain meaning and to be able to enrich ourselves on a professional level. We can also have societal well-being in our lives, being able to actively participate in a thriving community or culture. We can also have emotional well-being, being able to feel tranquil and able to manage our stress. And of course, there's always the physical well-being, being able to provide a proper functioning of our body through healthy living. Now, the focus for this presentation today will mainly be on the emotional and physical well-being. So one of the ideas that has been around regarding well-being is the term adaptogens. But what are they? So adaptogens are active ingredients in certain plants and mushrooms that may impact how our bodies deal with stress, anxiety, and/or fatigue. Generally, there are three qualities that plants must have to be considered an adaptogen. They need to be non-toxic when taken in normal doses. They need to help your body cope with stress, and they need to allow your body to return to balance and/or homeostasis. One thing to keep in mind is that adaptogens are considered a temporary intervention and not a long-term solution to stress, anxiety, or fatigue. So the ultimate goal of taking adaptogens is to be able to return your body back to a state of balance. The action of substances in adaptogens are thought to either increase or decrease chemical reactions within our body to make this actually happen. So in general, what might be some of the benefits of taking adaptogens? Well, studies of adaptogens are limited, and many have focused on isolated properties of the herbs rather than the whole plants, which is what is traditionally being used in adaptogen products. In addition, most of the research has been conducted in vitro. In other words, it's been performed or taking place in a test tube, a culture dish, or elsewhere outside a living organism. Some of the research has been completed on animal studies, but few human trials actually exist. In fact, when it comes to the effectiveness of adaptogens, much of the evidence is anecdotal, meaning that it's not necessarily true or believable because it's based on personal accounts rather than facts or research. However, there have been some studies on animals and isolated neuronal cells that have revealed that adaptogens may help to reduce anxiety, have antidepressive properties, enhance our memory or other cognitive functions, and to help protect our nerves against damage, degeneration, or impairment of function. In addition, there have been some clinical human trials that demonstrate adaptogens exert an anti-fatigue effect that may increase our mental work capacity and enhance our attention when we're working against stress, mental exhaustion, and fatigue. Interesting that there was a pilot study that looked at how adaptogens might affect those with long COVID symptoms. In this study, participants with symptoms of long COVID were randomized to receive either a placebo or or a supplement that included 3 adaptogens: R. rosea, Siberian ginseng, and magnolia berry. Compared to the placebo, the adaptogen supplement was found to reduce chronic pain and fatigue. So some good signs for using adaptogen from that study. Despite some positive findings with specific adaptogen research studies, more research must be done to prove the efficacy of each type of adaptogen to make sure that each adaptogen is providing the desired or intended result. Of course, as we all know, there are always risks when focusing on taking specific substances. So what are some of those potential risks? No surprise that as adaptogens can be consumed internally, potential effects may include allergic responses such as hives or itching or swelling of the throat, as well as digestive responses such as abdominal pain, constipation, nausea, and/or diarrhea. Adaptogens do have the potential to interact with other medications and/or supplements, which may result in things like an increase in blood pressure, a decrease in blood sugar levels, a disruption of sleep patterns, an increased thyroid activity, or being counteractive to someone taking antidepressants. Additional drawbacks can include bitter taste, sediment developing because of limited solubility of the functional or added ingredients in products. And of course, there's always the risk of a potential high cost to purchase adaptogens. So, word to the wise, before taking adaptogens, make sure to talk with your primary healthcare provider to discuss any impact these might have on your health or for potential medication supplement interactions. So where do we find adaptogens? Well, they come in a wide variety of supplements, such as in capsules, powders, drinks, tinctures. You can also use dried or fresh adaptogens, herbs. These supplements can be purchased online or in various stores like grocery stores, nutrition shops, pharmacies, specialty retail stores. They're really widely available to us. Or if you're more interested in creating your own adaptogen functional products, there are online recipes for making your own adaptogen-rich food and drinks. Keep in mind that adaptogens work best for short durations, less than 6 months usually, as the body could build a resistance and reduce the intended effects, proving them ineffective over time. Now, one question to think about regarding adaptogen supplements is, are they regulated to ensure safety and truth in marketing? While some adaptogens have a number of studies on their actions, if taken as supplements, they are not regulated by the Food and Drug Administration. And if the Food and Drug Administration does approve them, that does not necessarily equate to safety of that product. So when possible, look for supplements certified by a third party, such as U.S. Pharmacopoeia, the National Science Foundation, or Consumer Labs. These organizations evaluate a product's level of purity and quality. A seal from a third-party organization means you can worry less about contaminations in your product. Now, one of the ways we can get adaptogens is through something called functional beverages or foods. You may have seen some of these on the market because it is definitely a growing trend to assist with our well-being. You may have seen items such as the matcha lattes, the turmeric lattes, the mushroom coffee, or even botanical waters. Functional beverages and foods are products that tout health and wellness benefits. Most feature some type of added ingredient that claims to tout specific health benefits. Some, such as ginseng, is added to boost energy, while some may contain naturally occurring compounds, such as the coffee and tea, which contains our favorite caffeine. So functional beverages and foods may incorporate key adaptogens alone, just one single adaptogen, or sometimes there's combinations of several adaptogens in one product, or it may also be included with other types of substances that may have a healthful effect for us. But just remember, the benefits of these adaptogenic beverages and foods are not well substantiated. Functional ingredients often act holistically in the body in a way that treats the whole person, taking into account mental and social factors rather than symptoms of a disease. So it can be very difficult to measure the effectiveness of these products. And their physiological effects may differ when taken in combination with a wide variety of different ingredients. In addition, the amounts of active ingredients in functional beverages and foods are not standardized in products. In addition, the active compounds may have limited bioavailability once they reach our bodies. And the formulation processes to create these products may not be optimized for efficacy inside the human body. As a result, some functional beverages and foods on the market may provide stronger adaptogenic benefits and taste better than others. So let's take a look at a couple examples of adaptogens. First, we have ashwagandha. It's an herb that literally translates into sweat of a horse, presumably because the root, which is the part of the plant that's used medicinally, is thought to smell like a damp horse. Sounds very appetizing. So based upon research, it is said to have a calming effect. It appears to help the body adapt to stress by normalizing the cortisol response. And if you remember, cortisol is the primary stress hormone within our body. So one study that was an 8-week study examined the effects of high concentrations of ashwagandha root extract at various dosages on 60 healthy men and women who had significant stress levels. They were examined at baseline and then again at 4 and 8 weeks. And the results showed that dosages of 250 milligrams per day and 600 milligrams per day actually showed a reduction in cortisol levels in the test subjects, and their perceived stress also decreased. Studies in mice have shown that triethylene glycol, which is an active compound in ashwagandha, may be responsible for promoting sleep, as well as affecting our GABA receptors. The GABA receptors are located in the synapses of the central nervous system and play a role in regulating our emotions, controlling cognition, helping us sleep, as well as other motor functions. Now, some of the other potential health benefits regarding ashwagandha, there is some evidence that it may improve anemia in children. It may have a role in cancer treatment by improving efficacy of radiation and chemotherapy and reducing side effects. Some animal studies have shown that it may slow tumor growth. Due to its calming effect, this herb may also be helpful for those who are fatigued during the day but have a hard time falling asleep at night. They call us wired and tired. So ashwagandha, you can get it in all kinds of different forms. We've got capsules, extracts, tinctures, teas. You can actually get the leaves, the roots of the plants. You can purchase them at your local pharmacy, online, specialty stores, your grocery stores. Research suggests that about 250 to 600 milligrams per day for 1 to 2 months may reduce those cortisol levels. But as with everything, there are definitely some precautions to think about. If you're on thyroid medication, one needs to be aware that it can stimulate thyroid hormonal activity. It's not recommended if one has an autoimmune disease. It's not recommended during pregnancy. And due to its sedative properties, you want to make sure you are careful if you're taking other sedation medications such as gabapentin or benzodiazepines. And if you have a nightshade tolerance, or intolerance, I should say, it could cause stomach upset and nausea. Another example of an adaptogen is reishi mushrooms. This is a fungus that has adaptogenic properties. Perhaps you have heard of the ever-popular mushroom coffee. So reishi has been used for hundreds of years in Asian countries. It is a purplish-brown fungus with a long stalk, brown spores, and a fan-shaped cap with a shiny varnish-coated appearance. Reishi mushrooms have been found to contain a higher concentration and a large variety of naturally sedative compounds called triterpenes, which work with the nervous system to induce calm, relaxation, and drowsiness. Some lab research and small human studies have been conducted and found that reishi mushrooms may also protect against damage to the liver, destroy or inhibit the growth of viruses, as well as some other potential beneficial effects on our cardiovascular system related to rheumatoid arthritis, with chronic fatigue syndrome, and diabetes. Generally, reishi mushrooms are considered to be safe. You can purchase this in liquid form, capsule form, powders, tablets, extracts, and then as well in coffees and teas. They can be very bitter if eaten raw because of the triterpenes, so probably not going to want to eat them raw too often. The recommended doses are about 6 to 12 grams per day. It's always recommended to start at the lowest level to begin with and then build up over time. Research has shown that about 8 grams per day appears to be kind of the sweet spot, if you will, for a positive influence for reducing stress and fatigue. As always, there's a few cautions. They may increase the risk of bleeding, especially with medicines such as aspirin, NSAIDs, warfarin, heparin. They may also interact with high blood pressure medications. They may interact with ginkgo, and they may interact with fish oil. They don't recommend using reishi mushrooms during pregnancy or breastfeeding because there just hasn't been enough studies on their safety in these kinds of situations. And note that it may cause dryness of the upper respiratory mucosa. It could cause itchiness on the body, stomach upset, and or nosebleeds. So certainly some considerations to take into account if you're going to use the reishi mushrooms. Perhaps one of the best known adaptogens is ginseng. It is the root of plants in the genus Panax and has an active ingredient of ginsenosides. Although more high-quality studies are needed on ginseng's mechanism, recent research findings show that this herb may be involved in controlling stress hormones and cortisol via the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis, or the HPA axis. This axis involves the central nervous system and the endocrine system adjusting the balance of hormones in response to stress. Additionally, the root may also provide some other health benefits. Some studies show that ginseng may boost our immune system. Several studies in people have shown that ginseng may lower blood sugar levels. There's some early evidence that it might give a small, short-term boost to concentration and learning. And some studies suggest that ginseng may help control inflammatory diseases. So we can purchase ginseng in many places, pharmacies, online, specialty stores, grocery stores. We can get it as an extract, tinctures, tea, capsules, powders. We can eat it raw. In clinical trials, a dosage of about 0.5 to 3 grams per day of crude root or 100 to 800 milligrams of extracts were found to be effective related to the stress and fatigue benefits. Again, a few cautions. It does have the potential to raise blood pressure, so that should be monitored. It may decrease blood glucose levels, so caution is advised in people that are diabetic. Interesting enough, it does have some stimulating properties, so it may cause some anxiety and insomnia. And finally, we have wild yams. Wild yam is a plant that has been used for centuries in alternative medicine. Wild yam is also known as colic root, devil's bone, rheumatism root, or China root. There's over 600 species of wild yam out there, but only 12 are believed to be edible. Wild yam has been used in Native American and Chinese medicine to adapt to stress and promote balance and homeostasis. However, there is limited scientific evidence to support its use as an adaptogen. Wild yam does contain compounds called diazonin and diazin that are believed to have anti-inflammatory and antioxidant properties. So wild yam still may provide some health benefits, such as reducing inflammation in the body to help alleviate symptoms of various inflammatory conditions. Supporting our hormone balance, it's a natural remedy for hormonal imbalances, specifically with menopause symptoms, due to its potential effects on hormone production and regulation. It may also support our digestive health, such as alleviating symptoms of irritable bowel syndrome. More research is definitely needed to fully understand the potential effects of wild yam as an adaptogen. Wild yams may interact with certain medications and should not be used by individuals with certain health conditions, as it has the potential for hormone interactions. Conditions such as endometriosis and uterine fibroids are two conditions where it would not be advisable. Now, the United States Food and Drug Administration has yet to evaluate wild yam for its safety or effectiveness. We can get it in a variety of tablets, capsules, tinctures, creams, teas, powders, get it in a lot of different places. Although wild yam is related to the yams and the sweet potatoes that we eat, wild yam is not readily edible because it's got a very bitter taste. In fact, if you consume it fresh, the underground rhizomes might make you nauseous or result in other unpleasant side effects. Typically, it's the leaves and the vines that are going to be used in the supplemental products. Due to insufficient evidence, there are no dosage guidelines for wild yam. So always make sure to follow the directions on the package of the product that you may be purchasing. And be aware that ingesting too much may cause vomiting, headache, and or stomach upset. So as we can see, there may be some potential connection to our physical and emotional well-being by incorporating adaptogens in our lives. There is anecdotal evidence, as well as some animal, human, and in vitro studies that adaptogens may reduce stress, anxiety, and fatigue, as well as a host of other potential health benefits. Make sure to always check in with your primary healthcare provider prior to taking any adaptogen. And of course, always incorporate other relaxation techniques into your life for your short-term and your long-term well-being.